I'm going to present to you the faculty marked assignment. This is the first FMA for COM 380 Advocacy Communication and Social Mobilization. I am Maria Cecilia Rodriguez of the DSUS program. So for this FMA, I chose the Advocacy Communication and Social Mobilization for Renewable Energy Development and Adoption in the Philippines that was launched by the Philippine Department of Energy, specifically the Renewable Energy Management Bureau, during the first years of the Republic Act 9513 or the Renewable Energy Act of 2008. The Advocacy Communication and Social Mobilization program that they launched had a single objective, which is to gather a higher uptake of renewable energy development and adoption among key stakeholders, specifically the commercial, residential, and industrial sectors in energy. So there was a question on the need for the advocacy, communication, and social mobilization for renewable energy. As we know, the Philippines has uh, um, an archipelagic makeup, and so it is very difficult to energize all these islands. In the rural areas, it is said that we only have 85% energization, and in the urban areas, although there is a high energization rate, these are quite unstable and power outages is very rampant. So we need to address the paradox, which is the low household energization rate, as well as high electricity cost, which is actually the highest, one of the highest in the world. Increasing renewable energy uptake in the Philippines require well-crafted programs and the full cooperation of all key stakeholders. This paradox is painfully real. The Philippines has the highest electricity cost, and yet we have not reached 100% electrification of all households. And we have the highest energization um, rate or electricity rate in Southeast Asia, as I said. So the Department of Energy, through various partnerships with the European Union, the USA, the Japan International Corporation, and other international donor agencies, provided assistance in establishing a conducive policy and legislative environment, which is the RE Act. This must be paired with well-researched strategies and social mobilization. According to the DOE, the energy sector may have prodigious technical and capital requirements, but ultimately it can only be sustained by a broad network of stakeholders working to achieve common ends. So it cannot move forward purely through policy reform and legislation, and even through accessible financial and technology resources and well-crafted programs. What is needed is strong stakeholder engagement and public support. The ACSM target is to have stronger stakeholder engagement and sustained public support. Social mobilization is a collective engagement that involves planned actions and processes to reach, influence, and involve all relevant stakeholders from the national to the community level in order to create an enabling environment and to effect positive behavior and social change that would support the country's agenda for achieving energy security and creating solutions that protect the environment in the context of climate change issues and realities to ensure that the public are on board in the wider adoption of renewable energy in the Philippines. Advocacy communication and social mobilization is a requirement. It is imperative both in the short term and in the long term. So there needs to be strategies in place for ACSM. The DOE's framework for promoting the Renewable Energy Act of 2008 is that they need to pursue a policy legislation and then to have regulation, enforcement, and compliance. And of course, the information, education, and communication is very critical in this campaign. They also have been pursuing capability building or capacity building for the higher uptake of renewable energy. And then they are trying to develop the market for RE, including most especially in the commercial and industrial sectors. And then, of course, the investment is very important. Financing, infrastructure, technology, and incentives needs to be in place in order to have a good implementation of RE Act of 2008. So the DOE is pursuing all of this through their social mobilization activities. The areas for action for ACSM have been identified during the Philippine Energy Summit of 2008. This is the first time that renewable energy came into focus. And it was identified that the problem of poor awareness of RE technology have been deterring the adoption and use of RE during that time. So the problems, gaps, and concerns relating to mobilizing various stakeholders for scaling up energy best practices and the realization of energy security and access were raised and discussed during this summit, together with the RE stakeholders, with different energy stakeholders. The discussions yielded a number of response initiatives. When consolidated, these problems, gaps, issues, and concerns, together with the proposed initiatives, suggest the following program areas of action. So the first one that was identified, of course, is low public awareness on energy problem and renewable energy. There's also the disparate, incoherent social mobilization in IEC projects and inadequate private sector support on initiatives that will help address climate change. Now, what was the action points that were identified during that time? It included implementation of a nationwide locally based information, education, and communication campaign. And they also included energy conservation or alternative energy and renewable energy issues and practices that should be integrated into the school curriculum. So that was one of the proposals. And then the output was the campaign for a mind or behavior change switch. So it was basically a behavior change campaign that we wanted to pursue during that time. I was part of the team that tried to implement a behavior change campaign, SBCC, and mobilize stakeholders so that, for instance, in education, we could have a stronger discussion or a more research-based discussion regarding renewable energy that can be taught to the in basic education and have a more practical approach in creating awareness, raising the awareness of the public regarding renewable energy. There was also some problems in the delay, not only in the passage, but in the implementing rules and guidelines of the Renewable Energy Act. And there was very minimal government support and incentive in identifying good practices during that time. So we needed to set up funds from government, private sector, civil society, media for REIC, and it was good that USAID and the European Union supported our projects for the social mobilization campaigns. And we also had to develop an incentive program for best energy practices. This is for the energy efficiency dimension of the RE law. We also have the renewable and clean energy policy that was cascaded in the local government units, and the relevant stakeholder groups were made to participate in the formulation of the implementing rules and guidelines for the RE Act. And then the next issue that was identified during the Energy Summit was the lack of local capacities for renewable energy technologies. And of course, there was a very poor capacity during that time of the workforce to have uh, the capacity to repair, maintain, operate renewable energy technologies, specifically solar PV systems, micro hydro systems, and biomass systems. These technologies were fairly new during that time, so we need to capacity um, and develop the workforce for that. And the capacity building was part of the social mobilization activity. It was participative, and we went to the grassroots, to get the participation of not just the skilled workers, but even the women who were very willing to share their time and resources to raise their skills in the operation and maintenance of the standalone solar home systems that we were installing during that time in specific areas. And so, again, the social mobilization problem is the absence of multi-stakeholder platform for convergent action. So during that time, there was very little interest that was shown by some stakeholders, especially those in business, with regards to shifting to renewable energy. The main problem back then was that the cost of a single panel was higher than the cost of having the connection from the electric cooperative or the electric company. So they were not interested because of the cost mainly, but also because they are not truly aware of the benefits of using a solar. There were also some doubts with regards to stability and capacity of the solar PV systems and other renewable energy systems that is not comparable to having a grid connection. But the but back then, we were trying to also convince them with regards to the environmental benefits of renewable energy and the contribution to climate change mitigation strategy of the adoption of renewable energy. And so during that time, we were using many approaches to convince the stakeholders, especially in the private sector, to switch to renewable energy and clean technology. So we were also trying to form a coalition or a central body for coordinating all initiatives. And this platform for convergent actions um, was very difficult to create, but it was really very fulfilling to have that, and it was a very important action because the stakeholders needed to get that kind of push for them to switch to solar finally and for them to realize its benefits. And no multi-stakeholder energy planning process Yes, there was no participation in the planning process of the stakeholders. The lack of representation of the marginalized and vulnerable sectors with regards to renewable energy development and planning, um, and the marginalized and vulnerable sectors were not really given the opportunity to have a voice in the planning and in decision making. And we tried also to reach out, for instance, to indigenous peoples groups in the rural areas. But the sheer lack of awareness regarding renewable energy made it very difficult and very slow to implement renewable energy projects in these areas. At the same time, we tried to really involve women, specifically the plain housewives in the households, to capacitate them in the operation, not really in the maintenance, but basically in the operation of the renewable energy systems. But there in some areas, for instance, in Muslim areas, there had been some resistance from the community because the women are seen as uh, not the right fit to do that kind of job of repairing and maintaining electrical systems. And so there was really a lack of awareness about how inclusivity can be achieved when you switch to renewable energy because it's a cleaner and safer way of producing electricity. So to address all that, we wanted to create a multi-stakeholder energy planning mechanism, and the basic sectors were allowed to participate, including in the determination of public representation and in the promotion of the consumer groups. So the output there is multi-stakeholder and decentralized energy planning system, which actually has been really quite challenging, but very slowly we were able to achieve it. So what were the imperatives for a successful ACSM in early adoption? There are a lot of success stories at this point, but I wanted to focus on how the ACSM that was launched 15 years ago by DOE was able to um, reach that more than expected adoption and use of renewable energy, specifically solar PV, among businesses in the private sector, as well as in the public sector, especially in schools, in hospitals. You can see all those things already at this point, very successfully providing electricity in these structures. So the imperatives there, what is the process that should be implemented so that the renewable energy project will be successful and also sustainable? Now, this should be integrated into the ACSM strategy, and should not come at the end of the ACSM, but at the onset of the ACSM, this should already be ingrained or integrated into every discussion. So first is the vision setting. It is quite challenging to have a vision setting, but in doing so, we are setting the minds and ensuring that everyone is on the same page with regards to the adoption of the renewable energy technology. And with the vision, we already have that one single direction towards clean source of energy, source of electricity, but also towards climate change mitigation and adaptation, and of course, having a better future with energy security and a better environment, that is free from pollution and with carbon offset, at a higher level of reaching the target of our carbon offsetting based on the SDG targets. So the second is we need to craft simple messages. Renewable energy or energy as a whole is a very technical sector or a very technical concept. So we need to translate that into simple terms. So the communication of scientific and technical terms must be given priority. The translation of all these terms into simple messages will be key to having a successful ACSM because our recipients are mostly those who have low understanding of RE or have been wanting to understand it but were deterred or are have fell into misconception and the poor understanding of all of the technology have deterred them to adopt the technology itself and also to participate in the ACSM. So we need to have that focus in communicating not just the technology but also the benefits of the renewable energy technology to targeted audiences. We also have the adoption of good communication strategies. Now, communication techniques or strategies have different features, or we can mix or combine all these techniques. For instance, you can use multimedia or new media or social media in in the implementation of the ACSM, but also, and it's also more effective to use interpersonal communication. Now, when we were implementing in urban areas, we often had to uh, do interpersonal communication because many of the audiences are in the household level. So we relied mostly on the word of mouth to um, to have a more popular to get more popularity, of the renewable energy technology. And the ACSM was implemented at a time when there were a lot of doubt regarding the capacity of the renewable energy technology to provide the electricity needs of a single household or maybe a structure or a building in among the commercial and industrial sectors. So these are challenges that the communication strategy had to address, and there were a lot of communication techniques that needed to be done. Of course, mainstream media was very reliable, but at the same time, the use of traditional media, the print and broadcast media, have been the print and video have been very successful. We were able to produce videos to to be disseminated to different audiences. We had for business, and we had one for household level, and we had one for industrial level, and for financing institutions and potential investors for renewable energy technology development. So these are some of the communication techniques that we needed to identify, implement, and manage, as well as to monitor and evaluate. So the next one is to enlist influencers. Now, At this time, during the start of the RE Renewable Energy Act implementation, there were not a lot of believers of the renewable energy, and we needed to enlist influencers. For instance, of course, the Department of Energy Secretary was on board, and there were also executives who we enlisted, to provide a more firm and more enlightening with clarity um, all the intricacies of the solar energy and renewable energy adoption. We also put premium on substantive gains. How do we do that? We highlight the success stories. So the success stories were made to be broadcasted, and we provided print and other ways to disseminate the success stories to targeted audiences. So these are the imperatives that we did for the ACSM project that really forwarded a higher RE adoption during the time when it was not yet that popular. Next is the factors to consider in planning for an ACSM program. Now, over the years, these energy practices have accumulated in pockets around the country and in many parts of the world. So these initiatives only need to be identified, documented, and analyzed to determine whether or not they can be replicated at the city level, at the provincial level, the regional level, or in national level, or even in sectoral basis. So social mobilization is instrumental in scaling up the more viable initiatives en route to building critical mass. Selecting which projects or programs can be prioritized for broad replication can be based on the following criteria. So you can use this as your criteria. We actually have been able to test this criteria, and it really works. So number one, is it replicable? Can it be used in other situations? Can the technique be applied uh, to other sectors, for instance, to other target audiences? Also, is the project a flexible enough or agile enough to be replicable? Okay, so all the key messages needs to be adaptable to different types of audiences. So that's a good start for an ACSM program. And replicability is something that needs to be done at the onset. No? Analyzing its replicability needs to be done at the onset of the ACSM campaign. The next question is it scalable in a cost-effective manner? What do you mean by scalable? We need to we can either make it uh, wider or larger and implemented for a larger audience, or it can also be implemented for a for smaller audience or other audiences that have lower understanding or low literacy about renewable energy, for instance. So it should have that capability to be scaled. Okay, so either to make it larger or smaller. But usually, for our case, uh, the scalability of the ACSM had been tested when, for instance, what we did for a community was applied at the city level. So, um, we tested or piloted the ACSM technique in one community and then scaled it at the city level and then onwards to the regional level. But of course, the question is it cost effective enough? Um, Again, no, it's something that needs to be thought about at the onset of the PCSM program. And so not only replicability is put on the table, but also whether it is cost effective when it is scaled. Meaning even if there's not a lot of budget, it should be still be implementable. Okay. So is it strategic? That's the next question. Will it help build critical mass? When we say strategic, in our experience, we thought that word of mouth is strategic enough. Uh, but there was a realization that it is low. So then we shifted to using mass media and using new media, social media, to educate and to campaign for adoption and use of renewable energy. Um, it took a lot of years for us to meet the target, but yes, the initial planning had been strategically placed to target certain communities first, tried to pilot the techniques first, and then scaled it. And then step by step, we were able to build critical mass. So from the plan uh, to the end, it took many years, and the implementation was replete with challenges. But at the same time, there were small successes and big successes. For instance, we were able to do the Energy Summit, and then afterwards, that became an annual thing for us. And so, using that Energy Summit, the stakeholders were able to appreciate more the technology, and then slowly they welcomed it, as a something that can be used as an alternative source of energy for their businesses. So there were a lot of successes in that regard. But yes, because we were able to have that strategic thinking of starting small and doing the piloting, eventually we were able to get that to achieve the targets that we set out to do from the onset. And then will it promote multi-stakeholder consensus? Yes, so that's very critical. And from the beginning of this presentation, we already identified that stakeholder participation is very important in this ACSM. And so what we did was to have that ACSM um, technique of really giving more attention to specific stakeholders. No, for instance, the energy planners, the energy producers or generators, and key influencers and key decision makers in the energy sector. So we needed to have that um, the consensus to have a higher uptake. And I think we thought that it was really a faster way of getting that target of renewable energy adoption within a certain period of time, because it was done en masse. So of course it then trickled down to the residential areas afterwards. And so the M&E indicators that we use for the ACSM project, we did make sure that it is inclusive, consultative, and participative. The first thing that was in our mind was that, uh, according to the DOE, and at that time we had a consultant from the EEAI, the um, Asian Institute for Energy. They said that the ACSM must address the public's so-called thirst for contribution, because in every ACSM, there needs to be participation from the masses. The people need to feel that they are part of the program. Otherwise, social mobilization will not be successful, or at the get-go, there will not be any participation from the people themselves, and so the social mobilization will fail. So, what are these indicators that we need to look out for at the onset of the implementation? So, these are the M&E and indicators. The first one is knowledge. It is integral to this indicator, the quality, availability, ease of access, and ease of use of the knowledge sources, which we need to monitor and improve. So everyone must be able to have that access to knowledge. The knowledge is there, but it is the ease of use and the availability on demand knowledge that needs to be made sure. So knowledge management is very important in this regard. And then how do we measure acceptance? The effectiveness of our social mobilization efforts can only be measured in terms of its acceptability among the various target stakeholders. So the level of acceptance will be assessed in terms of the extent or level of discussion of issues and initiatives, as well as the desirable new behavior action within the stakeholders' personal network. So acceptance is evidence-based. So for instance, we can say that yes, the key stakeholders, for instance, the financing institutions have accepted the viability of investing in renewable energy technology if they did invest a sizable amount in a renewable energy technology, or in an RE strategy that we have proposed to them. In our case, Meralco was already very enthusiastic in implementing net metering at that time, but it was also still being introduced, and it was in the conceptual stage. But later on, they were the first one to implement that policy, and which was to this day had been very successful. Next is approval. Indicators of approval are reflected in the manifestations of support to the initiatives or programs as proposed to stakeholder groups. Such intentions are anchored in the belief and expectation that the proposed initiatives or new behavior will be beneficial to them. So next is practice and adoption over time. The level of participation and practice of new behaviors will have to be measured not only as a way of determining the effectiveness of the campaign, but more vitally to determine how these behavioral changes and programs are able to impact the people's lives. And finally, we have the advocacy. Indicators of advocacy are intended to measure whether the participant promotes the initiative in their social professional network as satisfied practitioner. So we develop advocates. The advocacy is not done by the implementers themselves, but the advocacy are done by the ones we targeted to raise the awareness. We targeted to engage. So it is the stakeholders themselves who will advocate for it, and they will be the ones who will monitor whether the initial targets that we have planned, because they're part of the planning, have been met. And so we made sure that the whole process is inclusive, consultative, and participative. Yes, and so in summary, the ACSM campaign launched by the Department of Energy um, proved to be successful, as we are now seeing a higher than expected uptake in the development and use of renewable energy resources 17 years since the RE Act took effect. So this is the summary of when we look at uh, when we leverage the no, when we look at the indicators, we good ACSM, and there are three components: advocacy, communication, and social mobilization. So advocacy means changing the behavior of public leaders or decision makers, and we saw, and this is very obvious, TOE's advocacy communication were addressed to legislators who crafted the implementing guidelines for the Renewable Energy Bill, which is now RA 9153. So it's a very successful advocacy that we did because the legislators themselves became our advocates. And then communication generally targets individuals and small groups. So the ACSM program that we launched was implemented up to the barangay and sitio level, at the Purok level, actually. And this was done with the help of the local barangay health workers, the barangay LGU, and all the functionaries within the barangay. And of course, the social mobilization aims to secure community-based support. And so we sought the participation of local functionaries, as I said, the local folk to implement, and the participation had been very successful in that regard. So the sources for this are this, and these are can be found in the seeds.up.edu. The PH, it's a PDF file. It's also for the same document can also be seen at the doe.gov.ph site for the REMB, as well as legacy.doe.gov.ph page. That's actually the chapter 6 of the Energy Summit documentation last 2008. And so thank you for your active listening. Thank you very much, Dr. Jean. Let's go renewable energy. Thank you.